Hey guys, welcome back to the show. I'm here at Camera Store and Camera Rescue Center with Toni. That's a repairman here at the center. He's been working at the repair center since May, if I'm not wrong. Basically going through everything that's being rescued, fixing, changing light seals, checking things, and so on. So we're going to be talking about what he's seen throughout this time working here, his previous learning experience, because it's, self-taught, and what he thinks will be maybe future issues with cameras in, 2020 and the future. Yeah. So Toni, tell me, how has it been here so far?
Yeah, it's been great. I've always tinkered with stuff, and a couple of years ago I was like, I really want to fix cameras, but there's like no one around anymore to teach.
Mm-hmm.
So then I was fortunate enough to come here and train with like actual factory trained like camera repair master, and it's been really awesome.
Yeah, one of the things that we are seeing in the market is that a lot of the repairmen are either old enough to be retiring or too old that they're actually sadly passing away.
Yeah.
So one of the things we talk a lot on the YouTube and the community is there's a lack of new people. So new blood like you is interesting to see. You actually moved cities to come here.
Yeah, I had to leave some hobbies and friends behind, but it's like really my passion to fix cameras and like shoot cameras. And
yeah, shooting is an important thing. Is not a lot of the repairmen are actual maybe shooters. They just enjoy repairing, and it's their job. You enjoy shooting and repairing. How was it learning before coming over here? Like, where would you find your resources if someone's thinking of learning how to tinker with cameras and fix cameras? I'm sure you got to break a lot of them to fix.
You basically have to disassemble them. But the thing I learned coming here is that basically most of the information online is completely like
wrong.
If not false, then almost false. Like you're making things worse by putting some oil or
on the wrong spot or
in the mechanisms, because the problem does not lie there.
So do you find a lot of the cameras that come in maybe have been fixed by service that is not properly doing their job, or is it more just broken due to age and use?
Well, usually the cameras aren't broken per se, they just need like actual cleaning and the proper kind of lubrication and adjustment. But the problem is that some people have just tightened the curtains, for example, and that makes it harder to fix later, because the problems really arrive when you fix something or you do the proper CLA and then you notice that the curtains have been tightened, and then you have to adjust them again. And so
you have to open the camera and maybe check it out. When you receive the cameras at the rescue center, I do know you guys check the camera conditions to see if the timings are okay or the aperture is working like it should, light meter and stuff like that. What is usually the most common, I won't say broken camera, or not the brand, but like common issue with cameras? Is it shutter speeds or light meters, or maybe tough mechanisms that are a little tight? What is the thing you see the most?
Well, there are basically like two types of problems, because there are two types of shutters. The cloth, like not cloth, but the curtain shutters, and then like leaf or central shutters, and those have their own problems, but they're all basically just dirty, and or the lubricants are dried and like jamming the mechanisms. Thus you see the problems that slow times are not working, or if you set the fastest shutter speed, you don't see through the film gate, because it's like one's touching the other and maybe doesn't let light pass, and it looks like it's not working, not exposing properly. Those are like the
And in light meters, do you find, how is it when you start getting into the electronic era? Because of course mechanical cameras are like watches, you can always find to tinker and maybe fix the issues, but when you start with electronics, we're talking about camera electronics. We're at the beginning of electronics, so they have a lifespan which was probably not known when they made them. But what is it nowadays to find some of those electronic cameras?
Well, basically, like mechanical cameras, you can almost always fix if you have the parts, which is another problem. But with mechanics, you get more like, it gets more problematic because the components may be specialized, you don't get them anymore.
So there's no substitutes for certain electronics from maybe that era in the modern times?
Yeah, you may find like if it's like really simple like 70s electronics, you can like replace them easily maybe, but immediately when you get to like CPU controls, and for example an old RZ67 Mamiya is like
simple
electronics, it's more like durable, but then the second version is like CPU controlled. If the CPU breaks, then it's like there's no off-the-shelf part to substitute. So you would need a donor RZ Pro 2 to take the CPU off and put it on the one that's broken. So basically the problem is that if you have a spare body, it's usually already the parts are taken. So it's usually the common failure is the same part. Yeah, I guess every camera has one thing that always fails more than the rest. Like maybe, you were talking the other day to me about the Hasselblad A12 backs have a little nylon piece that is the main component that's hard to source right now. And you guys have probably 20 or 30 or more backs that need that one piece. Yeah. So, for example, for the future of repairs, like spare parts, like what do you think could be? Would it be like maybe making spares, like some spares, or maybe sourcing them from other places? What do you think would be the issue for future repairs? Well, 3D printing is helping. We have already sourced like some plastic parts that are always failing from certain cameras. But I mean, you can't get any more from the factories. Yeah. And if there is some parts that we cannot get, then it's going to be a problem. And electronics are going to be a problem. No, I'm sure that, I mean, considering that mechanical cameras, like you were saying, are fixable. Yeah. If you have all the spares that could break, so like gears, pinions, little screws, which are probably very easy to find because little screws are still used everywhere. But like those electronics are harder to find, and those plastic, when they probably started incorporating like plastic parts, we're talking about maybe 40, 50 years ago, and those are getting brittle and breaking and being harder to make. I mean, I think 3D is a very interesting thing, the 3D printing. I think it's changed a lot in the last 5 years, probably. Yeah. I know that little pinions and gears are really hard to print, but I'm sure that maybe in another 5 years, we'll see more, things like that getting better and better exponentially, and maybe, getting into the line of stuff that you guys can implement on your repairs. Yeah. So what is the cameras you've been repairing here? Is it more, what kind of brands are you specialized on? Well, I've been doing Mamiya, Hasselblad, Rolei, and Nikon mostly. I've heard that I read actually yesterday that the Mamiya RB67 has like 47 different light seals. Is that true? Yeah, it's a really nightmare. No, it's just a lot of work because you have to do the lens, the body, and the back. And the lens has light seals? Not light seals, but you have to like CLA the lens and the body and the back, and then you have to change the light seals. No, it was just interesting. I thought I do know in the 500, in the Mamiya RZ67, the Pro 1 back had light seals, but in the Pro 2, they changed that and there's no light seals, which is why they're also more desirable. Yeah, sure. But it's interesting to know, like Juho's mentioned to me before, that light seal change is usually something that always has to get done nowadays because all the foams are getting sticky and stuff like that. So for someone that's wanting to change their light seals, which is a very common thing and fairly simple thing if you have time, what is it that people usually need? Like, I know it's like the cotton little swab. Like, what I know you guys use a product for cleaning that's actually a chemical for developing or stopping. Isn't it Kodak Stop? I mean, Kodak, no, FOMA Stop. I used to see like citric acid or something like that. I mean, we just use isopropylic alcohol and basically benzene to clean those.
Mm-hmm.
And basically you need this, all you need is like the foam material, which should be the right thickness, and you don't want it to be too hard.
Yeah.
And then you just need some like super glue,
Mm-hmm.
like the variety you would use in like leather working or stuff.
Yeah, that will glue, but not too
stick,
much.
like not the like 1 second glue, which like
it gives you time to work with it.
yeah, and you can still remove it afterwards if you have to change them again in the future. So, but
Okay. And because people probably don't understand what it takes to repair in terms of time, because a lot of people sometimes when they send cameras for a CLA, and I know that Camera Rescue doesn't yet provide service of repairing, but you know, maybe one day it will happen.
Except for Leica.
I didn't know like you
do.
guys provided that service. But like, how long, for example, if you get a Mamiya RB67, let's say lens, body, back, how long in a work day or work hours for someone like you would it take to do a full CLA?
A full day.
A full day.
1 day, yeah.
It's just to give perspective, because when people are, I want to do a CLA for a camera, but it's this much money, you know, why maybe people get perspective of it. It takes 8 hours to do the whole thing of a trained person. So if you're doing it yourself, you're probably going to break it or probably going to take a lot longer. But yeah, like something like light seals, I think is something that people should be doing on their own. I changed the light seals on a Hasselblad back because it's just taking the screws off. You take the thing out and it's like that little aluminum light trap. Yeah. So it's fairly easy, even though one of my backs never got to work like properly seal. So I guess something went wrong. But yeah, any other insight that you have from being working mechanics at Camera Rescue?
Well, I think people should really understand that mechanical cameras usually only need like proper CLA, but the proper CLA always involves like disassembly of the camera. You can't do it the easy way. If anyone says otherwise, it's wrong. You have to disassemble the camera so you can get to the mechanisms, clean them properly, and like properly lubricate the right places.
Yeah, like people might think it's just taking like one little part off, and with a needle you just put a little bit of drop here and magic happens.
Or tighten the curtains and then it will work for a while.
And have you serviced any large format shutters at all? I mean, I do know that the Copal shutters are similar to the Secor from the RB, so maybe have you done any of those?
Yeah, I have done like all kinds of Synchrocomper and like Copal shutters, and I think Copals are the most reliable shutter in the world, because it doesn't have the cocking ring, which has to be lubricated and stuff.
Okay, no, because I use a lot of large format lenses, and probably all of them should do with a proper CLA at some point. Yeah. So it's good to know that it can be done. I do know that some parts are hard to find, probably, but it's those large format shooting slides need to have perfect shutters or close to perfect. Another thing that I think is worth mentioning is Copal sold their shutters with a little pamphlet that said plus minus 30% was acceptable. So knowing your shutter is more important than sometimes having it, properly CLA'd. It's good to have it CLA'd, but knowing that the shutter speed of 1/250th could be 30% off is more important sometimes.
Yeah, even Leica has like 30%.
Oh yeah, it's acceptable, 30%? Yeah. That's good to know. So thanks Toni for having the time to talk to us. Do understand that Toni's first language is Finnish, so of course it's not easy for him to do. Plus he's under the, showroom repairing cameras on a daily basis. If you have any questions, I'll leave his link to his Instagram. I'm sure people can ask them about, is it complicated to fix? Is it worth to fix? Which is probably one of the most questioned things. My Pentax 672 broke recently, and I actually sold it to Camera Rescue because it was the second time it broke, and I was like, is it worth it? And I'm sure it would have been worth it to fix, but it was going to fail the next buyer, so I wanted to give it to them to have it as a donor. So thanks Toni. Thanks for your time. I hope I'll see you soon again in Finland. If anyone has any questions, you can leave the comments below. Toni will probably read them, and if you can answer, I'll let him know. I can bug him if you need it to be done. And if you want to have any information about Camera Store or Camera Rescue, you can contact them. They do buy gear that's working, non-working, spares and such things like that. So yeah, guys, thanks for watching and see you in the next one.